And so coming into this, I was like, okay, if we're talking about 85% of the NBA potentially, 85% of the highest level basketball league that's ever existed, enjoying cannabis, I want to get to the question of how many of those guys, or at the very least, how realistic it is that some people were taking whatever form of marijuana that they were in order to actually play better, in order to be better at the game that they would be otherwise.
I wouldn't say that cannabis directly makes you better from a enhancement standpoint of an HGH or a steroid or something like that. I would say it enhances your play because you get a great night's sleep. It helps with inflammation. I smoked before I played, so I'm watching game film on Kobe, and I'm high, so I'm tuned into his moves. I know his rhythm. I know when he takes 2 dribbles right, he's going to stop and shot fake and get me up in the air. He's going to, so I'm locked in.
You're stoned watching Kobe Bryant.
The task, whoever it was, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. That was my job. I had to guard the best players in the world every night. The best guy on every team I had to guard every night.
This is why you're the perfect person to talk about with this stuff, because your job was not merely to like get onto the floor and passively be a normal person while stoned. It was to stop the greatest scorers in the history of the league.
Yeah, man.
But there are lots of people out there who are listening to this conversation, and they're like, when I smoke weed, I need to sit in a couch and not move. And you're doing potentially the most opposite version of that entire spectrum of possibilities.
Right.
I'm trying to stop Kobe Bryant from scoring 40. You're trying to stay awake watching the rest of Oppenheimer.
Right. It worked for me. It worked for me. You know what I mean? But there's times at a time where I would be getting, I'm not going to lie, again, it did a lot of things for me. Mentally, focus, sleep, anti-inflammatory. But there's time, Pablo, after just a crazy day of game, stress, or family, or issues, or I'm in TMZ and on SportsCenter, and I'm fighting with my former teammate, and I'm getting a divorce in front of the world, but I still got to play. Like sometimes
you're getting name-checked by Kanye, Matt Barnes.
Right.
I'm about to drive 90 miles like Matt Barnes just to whip a ass.
So, I mean, sometimes I do just sit back on the couch, man, and just smoke and get high and just kind of just allow things to...
As your God-given right as a human being.
Man.
Absolutely.
God is good.
But the question of the science of this, right? Of like, what does marijuana help an athlete do potentially? So I've been reading into the science on this, and we've talked to actually a couple of scientists.
My name is Angela Bryan, and I'm a professor of psychology and neuroscience at the University of Colorado, Boulder.
And their argument is, one of them is, this is not a performance-enhancing drug. And what Professor Bryan did in retrospect made a lot of sense. She set up this experiment to test the effect of cannabis on athletes by asking a runner to run the same route twice, once under the influence of cannabis and another time sober.
Under the influence of cannabis, people, they went pretty significantly slower in the cannabis run. The data we have collected suggest that, the organizations that ban cannabis on the basis of it being a performance-enhancing drug are flat out wrong.
But what you're saying is that you found benefits personally when it came to how you proceeded on the court. And so one of the things that I'm curious about is when it came to playing in the game, specifically, how do you think it made you better?
I just think it was focus. It helped me with my focus. But I'll even take it back. Say we're in LA tonight. I'm playing for Golden State. We're in LA tonight. We play Kobe and the Lakers. And then we have a back-to-back on a TNT game, which means everything's a little bit later. And we got to fly to San Antonio right after this game to play Tim Duncan. So we're getting to San Antonio. TNT game. It's going to go an hour longer. Everyone's got to do media after. It's going to take an hour and a half, 2 hours to get on the plane and actually in the air to San Antonio. We're not getting to San Antonio until anywhere between 2 and 4 a.m. So some people, it's hard to get off a plane, wake up, get on the bus, and get to your room and go right back to sleep. What are you going to do? Are you going to drink? You're going to take a sleeping pill that's going to have you groggy now for 8 to 10 hours. It might mess up your pregame nap. Or me, I'm going to go ahead and smoke me one to the face and make sure I go to sleep, within the first 30 minutes, 40 minutes while I'm there, and get a great sleep and get ready to guard Manu or Tony or whoever else I had to, guard that night. I was just glad that it finally has reached a point where there's medical research backing this up. And now, most of major sports, if I'm not mistaken, test for it once or don't test at all for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is where we are living in the future being the present tense now. So like, for instance, I just want to contrast this, right? So Al Harrington once said that he would never get high before playing like Kevin Durant.
But Al was my dog, so Al didn't even start smoking until like late. Al wasn't really smoking during the days like where we were, and that's the only reason I'm talking shit, because that's our guy.
Yeah, of course.
But it was, some guys didn't, like Steven Jackson, someone I can say that, he was smoking while he was playing. He didn't smoke before games either. After games, he would blow it down with you. But before games, he wouldn't. So
this club that you were, of course, a charter member of, like, I'm smoking before a game. Explain what that ritual was.
So it would be, first of all, explain the post-game ritual is normally everybody. Or whoever's a smoker on the team, after the game, we're burning it down.
Great.
Sometimes watching game film, sometimes, order some food to the house, kick it, get ready to go out, or whatever the situation may be. Day of depends. If you're on the road and there's a couple guys that smoke, I've had guys come to my room and after shoot around, we'll go to shoot around. Shoot around's 11 or 12 o'clock for an hour. We come home, I'll come home and, one of the teammates will come over to my room and we'll smoke one, and then I'll take a nap, I'll wake up, take a shower, eat, and go to the game. So within probably if I'm smoking about 1 or 2 and the game's at 7,
yep.
Within a 5-hour window. So it's not like I'm smoking on the way to the game, but it was something that I would smoke, and it helps me take because I like to take like 2-hour pregame naps, sometimes 3-hour pregame naps. Help me take that nap, wake up, feel refreshed, get in the shower, eat, and it's time to go.
Right. And how set was that process?
That was 95% of the time.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And so the question of focus, I want to get to that because it's interesting, right? So as much as science is saying you're not going to get the benefits from weed as you would anabolic steroids, obviously. It's interesting that like a sport like archery, and this is where you got to go a little bit off the board to see the parallels. In Olympic archery, alcohol is a banned substance because the theory is that alcohol for some people calms their nerves. If you ever played darts, if you ever played beer pong, all of us have felt like Kobe.
Oh, one time, I'm nice at beer pong, by the way.
I have no doubt about that.
Even if I have to keep my elbow behind
I was going to say, the elbow rule is
yeah,
a big, I would be enforcing the shit out of that.
Yeah, I'm get it.
On you.
I'm ready for it. Next time we hang together, we're playing beer pong. That's right.
Who else was on your sort of approach? Who else is like, how many other guys were like that?
There was a lot, to be honest with you. There was a lot. Again, close team. I would only speak on people who are close. The Steven Jacksons. Who else can I speak of?
Yeah, who's okay with this now?
It just depends because people are at different places in their life. Like some of my OGs, like someone who kind of raised me, who was my big brother, was instrumental in kind of making it like this is a responsibility. You still have to do this and this and this. And he was someone who was kind of, again, big brother in me when I first came to the league, and I was bouncing around and not really set on any team, but still doing it because I knew it was something I was with. So I'll leave it at the names of Steven Jackson, but I played with some of the greatest players ever to play this game have, been involved with this plan and winning championships.
By the way, was there a sense as to like when you were in the league, were guys smoking? Were they eating edibles? Were edibles really a thing at that point?
Edibles were just coming along. You got to think my last year was 16, 17. So edibles had touched down. But I felt like you had to be really well versed in that space, and I wasn't. I had a couple homeboys that they had the edibles down to microdosing before it was, because it just first came as edibles, and microdosing came later.
Yeah.
But I had homeboys that were test dummies that would crash and
teen wolfing.
And figure out what's right, and then and these are other athletes, these are other teammates. You know what I mean? One particular teammate was a test dummy. Was my dog, one of my own.
How does one end up the test dummy on an NBA team?
Just he's the one that wants to jump in there. You know what I mean? I had, like I said, edibles were new. Like we all kind of knew we all had our older stories of how we found out how, the actual joint or blunt were for us. Edibles are different.
There's only one way to find out what this specific edible contains.
You got to jump in there butt naked and see what happens.